right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to session number 2. It's nice to see you all. We are here today to talk with Shivani Siroya about her work at Tala. Just a little bit of background about Shivani. So Shivani is the founder and the CEO of Tala, which is the first financial platform for the global majority. Tala today serves about 10 million people across Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. It has been a CNBC Disruptor 50 for 5 years in a row. It's been on the Forbes FinTech 50 for 8 years in a row. And Shivani has also been recognized by TED, by the Aspen Institute, by the World Economic Forum, and Ashoka as a leader and then, a real visionary in the area of financial inclusion. So it's a real honor to have her here today. Shivani, would love to hear just a little bit more about Tala and your vision.
Sure. Thank you again for having me here. I'm so excited. I think, maybe I want to start with the problem that we're solving and, how I came about finding this massive problem, because it really does go into what I think is going to be very different if all of us succeed in what we're doing in terms of our visions for the global underbanked. So for me, it started, had a mixed background in investment banking as well as doing work at the UN Population Fund. I worked across 9 different countries for about 5 years. And what I can say is I became really proximate to the problems of the global underbanked and what they were facing within their financial lives. So while I worked at the UN, I interviewed about 3,500 individuals across these 9 different countries in person. And when I say interviewed, I really mean that I just followed them around. I would go to their homes in the morning. I would go to work with them. So I'd walk alongside them, go to work with them. I would sit in their stores and understand, how many products they sold, how many services they provided. And I was there at the end of the day when they counted their cash. And this was the way for me to understand, okay, how much money do they actually have? And then from there, I went to the marketplace with them, or went back home with them, or went to a bank to understand what happened to that money. What decisions did they make with that money? What bills did they prioritize? Where was the leakage? And really got to understand emotionally what they were going through. The fact that they were not trusted by financial institutions, the fact that many merchants didn't believe that they had purchasing power, and I saw a completely different story. I saw that these were individuals that had enormous potential. I saw that they wanted to grow their businesses, that they actually knew how to, but what they were being faced with was this lack of trust and this inability to be able to get ahead in their daily lives, to withstand shocks, but to also be able to move towards opportunity. And so I kind of unconsciously decided that I was going to lend to these individuals myself. I realized that, by being a part of their daily life, I was seeing firsthand this kind of behavioral data or the daily life data
Right.
That allowed me to underwrite them. And I started using my own savings, and I kept on hearing over and over from other loan officers or institutions that, this wasn't scalable. And I knew that. And so what I realized was I needed to find a different way to both do this at scale, but to be able to really think about how do we split risk at scale? How do I find this kind of data that I was seeing, but in a more seamless form? And I think those 2 pieces, one being very proximate to the problem, and seeing what our customers had access to, allowed me to then think about how could I use technology or leverage technology to solve the problem. And that's how we started. 10 years ago, I started using feature phones, both text messaging and interactive voice technology to be able to gather this data. And over the last 10 years, we've just continued to leverage new technology to open up that access to this customer.
Well, congratulations on the 10-year anniversary. So Stellar and Tala actually share almost the same anniversary for 10 years. So congratulations, Shivani, on your 10-year anniversary. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, round of applause. That's appropriate. Clapping is appropriate in this session. So it's interesting. So also just side note, I asked Shivani, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, to come and speak to a team of mine at a different company that I was working at, because it was Tala at that time was so unusual, right? It was just such a difficult world to operate in, 7, 8 years ago, and the fact that you all have stuck with it for 10 years is really phenomenal. What did the world look like 10 years ago? I mean, it seems like lots has changed since then.
A lot has changed, you're right. And I do think of it as like you, myself, others, Stellar that's here. I mean, in some ways, I kind of joke about this, but we've got to be so committed that we're kind of like cockroaches that won't give up, right? We are going to open up access to the global majority. And so 10 years ago, when I think about it, we used what we had available back then, which was feature phones, and we were starting to see that Android technology was coming, to emerging markets. And so it was that leap of faith of saying, we can be the ones to actually be able to last mile this technology to this segment. The global majority makes up about 52% of our adult population. And there are not enough of us that are actually focused on serving their needs. And so I think for us, it's how do we stay, again, really customer-centric while we bring this technology to them. But 10 years ago, we went from feature phones to smartphones, and now we're starting to incorporate blockchain as we're talking about, starting to think about AI. But it's really all about understanding the problem, understanding the customer, and then using the best available technology at that time to solve the problem.
And when you think about all the different waves of technological change that you've both seen and then also grabbed onto to leverage to serve these customers, what is it about blockchain that helps to solve issues around financial exclusion?
So I think that there's 3 things that are real advantages that we can think about. And I should also mention that we are leveraging this technology in our own platform. So we've just launched our first crypto wallet that is non-custodial and that is integrated seamlessly into the Tala application. And we're leveraging Stellar and its network of partners to be able to do that. So it's available in Peru now, but I think the first thing that we're so excited about is the fact that we can actually bring an entire financial suite of products to our customer at once now within this wallet, rather than starting with credit and then building from there. The second thing I think for us is that by interacting with our customers in this way across multiple different services, we now can use new data to be able to, again, grow their financial limits over time, grow their customer journey with us. Yeah. And so it really does start to change that paradigm of, not just using behavioral and Android data, but now really thinking about the data that is actually generated in the system itself. The second advantage that I see with blockchain is that it's fast, it's seamless, and it's cheaper. And so this is something that we're all talking about. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, but it's really that we can remove these intermediaries. And so that helps our customers, but it also helps us save a lot of money, which we can then pass on those savings to our customers. And then the last thing that I think about with the global majority is security and safety. Ultimately, for us to really be able to leapfrog them into a new ecosystem or paradigm, we have to be able to show them that they can trust us. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the other thing that blockchain offers is the ability to allow this customer to custody their own funds, rather than, again, another intermediary doing that.
So I want to take a turn now and instead of focusing on how we've sort of gotten to this place, talk a little bit about what Tala is doing currently. But before I do that, I just wanted to remind folks that we are going to hold some time at the end of the session for questions from the audience. So if you want to scan the QR code on the slide, I should have said this at the beginning, we are going to track the questions on Slido and have them from the audience. So you can do that while we're talking if something comes to mind. OK, so Tala and Stellar obviously have this shared vision for expanding financial access. How do those types of visions and partnerships come together to really expand financial inclusion and help innovate in financial services?
I think it does start with what you're saying, which is having that shared mission and that vision of opening up access to the global majority. I think you have to start with this place of what is the opportunity, and rather than thinking of everything as a problem, really thinking of it as how can we each bring our unique strengths to this? And so for us, I think it is the relationship we have with our customers, the understanding of how to last mile this technology to open up access, and then we can start to think about partners like Stellar and the others that are within the network to think of, what is each party actually doing to open up that access. We're primarily thinking of this in two ways. One is how can we open up new markets? So right now we work in East Africa, Southeast Asia, as well as Latin America. And so as we want to go deeper in these regions, how can we work with the different anchor networks that are part of Stellar to do that? And then the second piece is added value and access to more financial products outside of credit. And that's really where that crypto wallet comes in.
Yeah, so the crypto wallet has come up twice. Tell us more about Tala's crypto wallet. Like, what is the value for your customers? How long has it been in market? Tell us a little bit more about it.
So we just launched this past quarter, and so not that long yet. But what we're seeing is that there is real demand from this segment for services like this. And it all starts with the ability for us to be able to show them the security of the product. So they are depositing with us, they're getting access to credit, they're able to spend that local fiat. So this is also backed by local stable coins that are pegged to the local currency. And so again, making it really trustworthy to this customer. But essentially it is a full financial suite of products in the same way that all of our other customers in our existing markets get access to products.
So the stablecoin component of this, I think, is important. And maybe just for folks in the audience, can you dive a little bit more deeply into what is it about fiat-backed stablecoins that really engenders trust and security for folks?
Sure. So it's a one-to-one relationship here, so there is no currency risk that the customer is taking as part of this. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we're able to show them that transparency. So if we're holding if they're holding their money in this, right, they're actually just, the money is moving alongside the local currency, as opposed to taking any speculative risk.
And do they understand the stable coin technology, or is that something you even need to talk to them about? Or how does that communication work?
So I think that's the other beauty of this crypto wallet, is that we've essentially masked all of the crypto aspects of this to the customer. Because if we think about the global majority, they are looking to really just use these services, right? They're not looking to necessarily invest or trade cryptocurrencies. Right. They just want to be able to protect their money, to use their money, and to be able to grow their money over time. Yeah. And so for us, it's how do we kind of take them through this journey. And so we are showing them both things, the stablecoin as well as local fiat, so that they are able to start to adopt that and understand it. But it's not the primary driver. The primary driver is actually access to these financial products.
Yeah. As we think about the value that the partnership with Stellar has, not to be self-promoting here with Stellar, but if you think about the value of the partnership and what the two companies have done together so far, reflecting on that, like, how do you see the partnership evolving over time?
I see a lot of acceleration. Yeah. So I think for us, Peru is the first market that we're testing this in. But ultimately, once we see that the crypto wallet has demand, that it's working, and that it's really, again, creating impact and not just value for Tala or the proving of blockchain technology working, we want to take that to other markets. Yeah. And so my hope is that we're going to see more anchors join the network and be able to bring this to the other regions we work in.
When you think about the regions, as I mentioned, Tala has 10 million customers. I mentioned Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia. How do you think about selection of the markets that you would bring a new product to? What are the components that are important to you in thinking about the ripe test bed for some of the new things you're building?
We always start with understanding what is the need. Yeah. And so we always go back to what's our mission. Our mission is about providing financial access to the global majority. And so, where is there a large underbanked population? In particular, when we think about blockchain, we are always cognizant of, what are the regulatory markets like? Where can we actually enter? And again, this is a friendly region for us. So that is going to be an important factor for us. But as we move to other platforms like a web app solution outside of Android, it starts to open up that playing field as well for us to, again, think about offline distribution. As well as web services. And so I think the thing I will say is across the next 2 to 3 years, I'm actually seeing that, the more of the markets actually open up and it becomes much more based on need, because the cost of entry, the speed of entry, all of these things are starting to get more efficient.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite puzzles to explore, is like, where do you put these new products and solutions and in which countries? It's also great when you have those flagship implementations to be able to take that flagship implementation to other markets and say, if your regulatory environment or if the way in which your country is set up or the partners here or the technology that's available in these markets, we can bring this to you as well. So it becomes a way to almost sell in new markets for expansion. OK, so let's just think a little bit about what would make you the most excited to see the industry bring to bear over the course of the next, 3 to 5 years. But in Shivani's dreams, what are we doing as a community? What are we doing collectively together over the next couple of years?
I think my dream would be to really get into how do we personalize the experience more than we've seen so far. So I still believe that right now we're still seeing a lot of blanket products. You asked this question at the beginning, which was, 10 years ago, what did I see and what do I see now? I see this shift of more products and more access, but what I don't see still is this idea of customization. And I think with the available technology now, especially as we're seeing with blockchain, with AI, these things, I think it's paramount on all of us to really understand the customer and to think about how do we segment better and how do we start to build in a very dynamic way that we are decisioning on every aspect of our supply chains and really thinking of it as the rates we charge our customers, the terms we provide to them. The right product at the right time, whether that be a savings product, a payments product, which bill to pay. I think there is just this huge opportunity now to be able to really show them a more personalized and individualized experience. I would like to see that for myself as a customer, and so I think of it as, if we can do that for the global majority, that would be pretty groundbreaking.
So I just looked down at Slido. We have many questions, like 10 questions that have already come through.
Okay.
So I'm going to pause on my questioning of you and switch a little bit here to the folks in the audience. So one, what are the challenges that are faced by institutions in bringing financial tools to underserved regions, and how has Tala overcome this?
I think that when I think about the challenges, I would say, it's twofold. One is how do you, again, show the customer that they can trust you? The global majority has only seen broken promises so far. And so I think that is the first place to start, is to think about how you as a financial institution or a financial partner to them show up and show them that they can trust you. And in my opinion, I think that is delivering value to them before they've given you anything. And that's why we started with access to credit first, is to say this customer should be trusted. And so how can we show them that right out of the gate? The second thing I would say is from a regulatory perspective, as we all talk about blockchain and AI and these other things, regulators are also very concerned about protecting their citizens. And so it's on the other side, how do we also show regulators that we are good actors and that we are investing in security, compliance, privacy, these things that they're also concerned about. And so for me, it always goes back to trust in terms of what the challenge is.
So someone also asked about, tell us more about the financial products outside of credit. So you do more than just credit, correct?
We do.
Okay.
So this crypto wallet does have products beyond credit. It is about, a deposit-first product. It's about payments, and it's allowing this customer to, again, move money through the ecosystem.
So there's another question in here about how is Tala, approaching digital identity in the context of financial access? Are you looking to create interoperability with any national ID systems, and how does identity work?
That's a great question. Right now, the Tala digital identity, or our credit score on our customers, is only within our own ecosystem. We are starting to look at partnerships where customers can use it with merchants, they can use it with employers, and start to get access to other financial products outside of the ecosystem. But today, it is still within our own Tala network.
Okay. To build on that, because you were just mentioning use cases, someone was asking, what are the types of users for the crypto wallet? Like, who are you focused on for that? Are they everyday people? Is it crypto-oriented people? Are there certain market segments that you're targeting more than others?
Another really great question. This is very much for the global underbanked. And so it is not for a, let's say, higher income segment or just a crypto native customer. This is for everyday people. But uniquely designed for the underbanked customer.
So I'm going to probably give us one, maybe two more before we're going to run out of time. So if you have any last-minute questions, make sure to get them in quickly. How were you able to build effective local teams in different continents? I mean, this is a problem that many of us talk about. So you are spanned across 3 different continents and many different countries. So how do you balance that effective local team and sort of centralized global strategy?
I think this starts with thinking about what you're building. And I think twofold. One, thinking about our founding value for us at Tala is radical trust. And so this is about how our customers experience our product and the transparency and the fairness that we believe in terms of the experience. But it's also how we build our team. And so I knew from day one in starting that I couldn't do everything forever. And so I had to really trust other people to take that on and to believe that they were also as mission aligned as I was. And so at this point, we are now about 530 people globally. We have an office in the US, but it is by no means our headquarters. We have local teams in Nairobi and Kenya, Manila, as well as Mexico City, and it is really building around a country leadership team. And so thinking about what are the key elements that we need in each market, and now I should say region at this point, but we've built out full service teams, product, user research. We have local engineering hubs that service these markets. But I think it goes into, one, what's the ethos that you build with? And then two, the markets themselves are really dynamic. And so we have to always be responding to macroeconomic changes, regulatory changes, customer behavior changes. And so from a platform aspect as well, we've built in such a way that we are global, but also modular. And so if a new payment network comes on in one of our markets, we want to be able to integrate that very quickly. And so we've made it so our local teams can actually take that on themselves.
Yeah. I think Tala is one of the best examples of really practical experience of figuring out how to take advantage of the new waves of technological change as they emerge and incorporating them into your business. Like, you've done such a good job. Congratulations, Shivani.
Thank you.
But it's really cool to hear, how that's been done, seeing what technology is now new, how that can be leveraged and utilized to meet the needs of people who are harder to reach, and then also build a wonderful global company. So Shivani, we've learned a ton from you. Thank you also to the audience. This was a very engaged group of questions. I really appreciate that. And I'll now hand it back to the host. Thank you.
Thank you so much.